All right, so in a fairly recent interview, Bart Ehrman claims that Mary would have been 13 or 14 years old when she was betrothed to Joseph and pregnant with Jesus. Now, not only does this go against the scholarship we're going to survey here in a moment, but it mildly buttresses a popular apologetically motivated polemic that Muslim duat, or apologetic proselytizers, try to use against Christian objections to Muhammad's marriage to Aisha. That being, he was in his 50s and she was 9 years old when he consummated the marriage. And this polemic comes in the form of accusations against the Holy Family that Mary was 12 and Joseph was 90 when they were married, or when she gave birth to Jesus, or when she was pregnant with Jesus, all of which I've thoroughly debunked in a previous video called The Truth About Mary and Joseph's Ages. Moving on, let's listen to what Bart Ehrman has to say here.
So in ancient cultures broadly, but also in Israel, girls who reached puberty were married. That's when they got married. So the men might be in their early 30s, but the girls were 13 or 14 whenever they hit puberty. And so this 13 or 14-year-old girl who gets pregnant without being married.
Right, I don't think we actually know how old she would have been, but some people say she would have been quite young. I'm not sure about that.
Well, I mean, as I was saying, normally 13 or 14 would be the age. You just think about your 13-year-old daughter getting pregnant, and it can be heart-wrenching, really. And
now, an awesome irony here is that on Bart Ehrman's website, a frequent contributor, Dr. Joshua Schochterl, says the following about Mary and Joseph's ages during the time they would have been engaged or married. In first century Palestine, the ideal age for marriage, for both women and men, was during late adolescence. Men, however, often married a bit later, sometimes even as late as 30. We can probably assume, therefore, that when they married, Mary was between 14 and 19 years old, while Joseph may have been in his 20s. Further down at the bottom of the article, in the conclusion, he says, Mary and Joseph would have gotten married in their teens or 20s, with Joseph more likely to be a little older. So Bart says 13 or 14, which puts her at an average age of 13 and a half. And now Joshua Schochterl has her between 14 and in her 20s, which I'm going to go all the way from, 20 to, let's say, 22. That'll be early 20s. That puts her... Well, actually, I don't even think I'm putting that into this calculation from what I recall, but the average age, let's just say here, according to Schochterl, will be 16 and a half years old. So let's go on to a couple other sources. Here we have Michael Satlow's Jewish Marriage and Antiquity, published by Princeton University Press in 2001. And after going through a series of sources, like here's an example of him looking at a particular ancient source, he comes to the following conclusion. In sum, these sources suggest that in Palestine and the Western diaspora, Jewish elite men might have typically married around 30 years old that is, to women who were in their mid or late teens. Babylonian rabbinic men may have married earlier to women in their early teens. But the Holy Family was not in Babylon, rather they were in Roman Palestine. Further down, again contrary to what Ehrman says, Satlow says that Greek and Roman women also appeared to have married in their mid or late teens, again paralleling what might have been Jewish behavior. So already you can notice that this is speculative, right? These are probabilistic judgments, whereas Ehrman is asserting certain things as just plain fact. So if we return here, we have Ehrman giving us an average of 13 and a half. Then we have Schochterl giving us an average of, let's say, 16 and a half. And then we have Satlow giving us an average of 18 and a half. If we say mid or late teens, 15 through 19 to 20s, then we have an average of 18 and a half. I think this range right here is calculated into that average. Lastly, let's go to the following article, Children and Childhood in Light of the Demographics of the Jewish Family in Late Antiquity by Amram Troper, in the Journal for the Study of Judaism in the Persian, Hellenistic, and Roman period, published in 2006. Granted, late antiquity is not when Jesus is alive. The first century is not late antiquity. However, we do have some helpful data here. On the basis of rabbinic sources and ancient documents, scholars suggest that the average age of first marriage in Palestine and the Western diaspora was in the late teens and early 20s for women and around 30 for men. And then likewise says that in Babylonia, however, the average age at first marriage was apparently younger, with women marrying in their early or mid-teens and men marrying closer to the age of 20. Further down, he also says that the strong link between marriage and procreation asserted by Jews in the Roman Empire, as well as their relatively late ages at first marriage, agree with widespread sentiments and practices of the Greco-Roman world. But anyhow, that puts us now of an average age of 20. If we're doing late teens to 20s, let's say early 20s, that extends all the way, let's put it to 22. Then we have 18 through 22, which gives us an average of 20. So Ehrman gives us the average age of 13 and a half, whereas Schockturl on Bart Ehrman's website gives us the average age of 16 and a half. And Michael Satlow gives us the average age of 18 and a half for Mary. And then lastly, Troper, not Trooper, gives us the average age of 20. So all three of these, especially these two, but all three of these represent significantly different stages of development than does this. So why should we take Ehrman's word for this when people who have a greater expertise and therefore have more authority on this matter present a variety of reasons that lead into these conclusions that contradict what Bart Ehrman has to say? So that's all I had to say for this video. But before you go, don't forget to hit the like button, share, subscribe, comment down below, hit the notification bell, and also check out this video that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, wherein I break down in a rather detailed manner why that Muslim polemic just completely exposes the low standard and the dishonesty and irresponsibility of Dawa and the Dawagandists. Thanks for watching. God bless you. Peace.
Some people say she would have been quite young. I'm not sure about that.